What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another one. Today we're back in the shop making this beautiful Spalted Alder natural frame from an oversized fork. It's going to be a bit longer video than normal. We're going to go through how to make a band set and go all the way from start to finish with this, with a little more detail than I normally give on my other builds. So if you are a Slingshot nerd looking to get into building your own, this would be a good video for you. We'll get back to hunting action once season opens again in mid-August. Until then, it's all building. Stay tuned. Here is a piece of alder. It's got a little bit of spalting. I didn't expect that because I cut this off a living tree. You never know what you're going to get in these oversized forks. First thing I did was cut this piece off. That way I've got a flat surface to run through my bandsaw. I made a trim there. Took that off so that I could cut a nice square profile. Then I cut this piece off. As you can see, grain's pretty cool, spalting's pretty cool, and it's still very solid. So that's what's going to be the working face of my Slingshot. And then, as you can see, before I did any of that, I traced my pattern out just so I had an idea of the shape. Right, I cut this off, but this just served to make sure that I had enough wood to work with. So I'm going to retrace that pattern on here so that I can get the most out of this grain now that I know what it looks like. Pattern's traced on there. I just want to show the camera. That measures out 4 1/4 inches from end to end. Outside fork tip to outside fork tip. So if I goof this up and it doesn't come out to 4 inches, right? If somehow I get 3 3/4 like the last one I did, it's entirely my fault. It's not a template issue. All right, this side's relatively plain Jane. But if you look at that side grain, that's got some beautiful spalting on it. This side's got a lot of spalting, and this mid-rib or crotch grain's great. One fork's got some cool spalting, the other one not so much. I'm just setting this up so that this covers the center of the grain, because the centers of these are going to line up. There's a straight line between these two, so just kind of eyeball it like that. This is roughly the width I like my tips. Again, I want to keep as much width as I can, so I've got darn near to the outside there and to the outside over here. Right, that's going to keep me at 4 1/4, and I'm going to lose some as I sand it down. It means I'm going to make this cup much wider. All right, so this cup's going to lose 1/4 inch on each side, so that'll be a 1/2 inch wider. That's all right. I like a nice wide gap to avoid some fork hits. Should see some of my practice sessions. It's like amateur hour over here. I've been talking this whole time. You haven't even seen my face. I've got my caps drawn in. I've got little lines going through just to make sure that my circles are relatively centered in the center of the forks. That's just to help with symmetry. And the next move is to dry this out in the microwave and shape this down into a functional slingshot. I've got quite a lot of wood to remove. This is alder, and alder gets it flies off with a belt sander and 60 grit. So I'm gonna make some sawdust next. All right, we're back. It's the next day. Fork's about where we left it. It's been microwaved 10, 12 times, and it spent the night in the fridge, which also draws some moisture out. We're at a very low moisture content. There's a look at some of the spalting that'll really pop. That's the crotch grain. You know, the forks came out like that. Yeah, sanding begins.
So as I'm sanding, I'm really focused on just rounding everything out and getting the symmetry right, and correcting any bandsaw mistakes. You know, when you cut something out on a bandsaw, it's never exact, so I try and level everything up first. So the tool you're seeing me at now is called an oscillating spindle sander. It's pretty Slingshot specific. I don't use it for anything else, or haven't anyway yet, but it works great for making nicely sanded, even, tight curves. So I use my shop vac as my dust collection system, and as you can see, I've got a respirator on as well, because the dust really fires up my asthma. And I find as I'm sanding that getting the inside of the cup correct is one of the most important things for making the Slingshot look symmetrical in general. So I intentionally make the tips long, so that I can cut them off and go from that 4 1/4 down to 4 once I get pretty close to a finished product.
This has been sanded with 150. As you can see, I left a lot of contours in it. Give it a little bit more of a geometric style shape rather than just my standard rounded out ones. It's been a fun little project. We'll do 180 and then 220, and I'll check back in with you at 220. This is gonna look pretty cool. The combination of spalting and this deep crotch grain right here on both sides is gonna be really neat. All right, here we are at 220. I just got it wet and let it dry, and I'm looking for all the raised grain parts, and I'll circle them so that I know to spend more time sanding. Like I need to get that edge right there. There's another spot up here. All right, here we are, 220. I sanded out all of the parts that I had identified as needing more sanding. You can see the contours in this. Pretty good and symmetrical, lots of meat in the handle. Holds good, 4 inches, dead nuts, outside edge to outside edge. So that should shoot right where I want it to. And I'm pretty pleased with the symmetry. Pretty pleased with the overall geometry. That side's probably gonna be the front. Try not to like pick a front based on how they look. Try to pick a front based on how they hold. So I'll like hold it with my eyes closed and just like, and then I'll turn to the side like this and I'll film, and then I'll pretend to draw and just see how like close to 90 this gets, just holding it instinctively, right? You want it 90 degrees to the ground. Turn it over, do the same thing, right? So like this way is better. It's gonna be a killer. Earthquake. All right, sanded 2, 320. This isn't hard enough to really go much further than that. There's some spalting in it, which makes it real soft, and you don't get, you know, I'm not going to be able to get the same kind of finish I would on like Wingate or Purple Heart or something like that. So I'll do all of the real fine sanding once I get super glue on it, harden it up. Oh, it's cool looking. Here we go, super glue. Oh, I got bands in my pocket. Y'all have seen this on a bunch of other videos. I'm going to talk you through it though. I use gloves because the gloves are clean and I don't get stuff all over this beautiful Slingshot. Get a relatively clean rag and just make it dust free. Use the inside of my hoodie, so that seems less dusty than the outside. Oh, it's really gonna pop off here in a second. You ready? You ready for this? Put some across the top. I've found doing this application method that if you rub it in too long, you get weird smudges and stuff. If you don't rub it in long enough, you get these like thick spots that are real wavy. And just kind of trial and error, you know? And I think we're there. Give that a bit. Nope, I rubbed it a little too long. We're gonna have some sanding to do. So it goes. I'll get back to you once the super glue. Ugh, the off gas from super glue burns the eyes. I'll get back to you once the super glue's cured. It's the super glue on the gloves. You gotta get those off faster. Oh, it was terrible. There we are, all the way finished out. Ready to be banded. Nice spalting over here. All down this side, really. Really good spalting on that side. That's incredible. That looks like a rattlesnake tail. Like that a lot. If you look, there's kind of spalting throughout this whole thing, which is pretty neat. Like this. You know, that's got some spalt to it too. .8 pure medical grade latex.
The first thing I do is lay this out and cut it to 8 inches. I ran into some issues because my rolly cutter was dull. Had to change blades.
Caddyshack makes these and will sell them to you in America for, I don't know, like you pay more in shipping than you do in actual product, which I suppose is the way of things. It takes a lot of fuel to get stuff across the pond.
Again, I can't stress enough the importance of a sharp blade and a clean mat. As you can see here, my mat's pretty dirty. Time for cleaning. So that taper is 25 to 20. This is my band tying jig, and as you can see, it's nothing fancy. It's a basic clamp that's nailed to a piece of 2x4 with another nail driven in about 2.5 inches in front of it, and then I took a grinder and cut the head off of that nail. It's very simple, and as you'll see here in a second, it works very well. Another thing that's pretty important is being able to slide this clamp up like that, so I've got some room underneath to work.
I go over and under each side and then a square knot, so you go right over left. Pull it tight, left, left over right, pull it tight, clip, give her a stretch, and then cut off all that excess. That's what we're left with.
As you can see, the clamp just slides up and down on the nail. I think the hole was in that particular clamp to begin with, but if your clamp doesn't have one, drill one. Being able to slide it up and down is really nice.
Band set.
Wrap and tuck method, I'm just wrapping thin stretchy material. This happens to be crystal string. You can use little pieces of band like this. Use whatever you want. I've seen people do it with tubes. Do whatever you like. Find something stretchy. Shoot, I've seen people use tape. Go over that. Down through it. There we go. That is the wrap and tuck method. Cut our little excess off. Cut my excess off over here. Get the other side banded up and see you on the range.
Like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. More build videos until hunting season opens. See you on the next one. Peace.